Is 2024 the year of the free electric car? Already, I can hear you saying, no, of course it's not. You can't get an electric car for free. What are you talking about? And I get it, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration. But before you click off thinking, oh, just clickbait rubbish, hear me out. There are some mind-blowing deals available on electric cars at the moment. I'm sitting in one at the moment. This Maxus T90EV fully electric pickup truck cost me £99 a month to lease for 10,000 miles a year with a £99 deposit. And that is insane value for money. And even more so when you realise that as they were struggling to shift them and they were getting to the registration deadline at the end of December, more and more discounts were appearing. So I got in at 99 quid and I'm happy with it, more than happy with it for the money. Some people are driving these around for £60 a month. Some people are driving these around for £40 a month. And that is just insane. And it's basically a free truck at that kind of money. If you currently have a diesel, you're paying a couple of £1,000s a year for fuel for those 10,000 miles. And let's be honest, that's not beyond the realm of possibility, especially something like a pickup truck, which isn't that economical. Then the fuel savings are going to basically pay for the lease. And so therefore, it is pretty much free. I mean, there's a lease deal around at the moment for 12 months in a VW Amarok, which, you know, yes, it's a little bit plusher than the Maxus and probably a little bit more refined, but ultimately it's a diesel pickup truck. All right, it's four-wheel drive as well, but on the whole, you can't buy a rear-wheel drive diesel pickup truck, so we can only work with what we've got. A 12-month lease deal on an Amarok at the moment on a special offer is about £5,500 per year. That's monthlies in the region of like £270 a month with a couple of grand up front. And that's being touted by a lot of lease brokers as a really good deal. And actually for a brand new Amarok, it probably is quite a good deal. But that's like 4 times what it's costing me to drive this Maxus for a year. That is crazy. And this continues. It's not just about unwanted Chinese pickup trucks. There are unwanted Chinese cars out there that are available on good deals as well. So the Ora Funky Cat, or as it's now known, the GWM Ora 03. I'm not sure why they launched it as the Funky Cat and then changed the name. Seems a little bit odd. But that is currently available for £168 down and £168 a month on lease, personal lease, including VAT. And that is based on 6,000 miles a year, which is maybe a little bit on the low side, but maybe not for a smaller car. It depends what your needs are. And they will give you more miles for a little bit more money. But that is astonishing value for money. £2,000 a year, roughly, to be tooling around in a brand new car with no real servicing requirements. It's on a 24-month lease, so it won't, I don't think, need a service during that time. It's probably on 2-year servicing, so it will go back before it needs its first service. Or if it does need a service, it'll probably not cost very much. You're unlikely to need tyres unless you get a puncture. And it is just a really, really cheap way to get around. Now, okay, yeah, you can have a £500 banger that is probably slightly cheaper, although, you know, if by the time you put fuel in it and pay its tax and all that stuff, there won't be much in it, especially if you've got access to home charging. If you've got home charging and you're paying 7.5 pence per kilowatt hour, then something like a Funky Cat will probably do 4 miles per kilowatt hour in the warmer weather, 3 in the colder weather. So it's going to cost you like 120, 130 quid a year to fuel for the 6,000 miles. There's no tax to pay currently, and therefore it will be significantly cheaper. And to be in a brand new car for £2,000 a year is just phenomenal. A Dacia Sandero, which, I mean, I don't know, is that a fair comparison to the Ora Funky Cat? Some would say it's probably better, but it's a basic, you know, small hatchback, probably in a similar league, I think, in terms of like quality and refinement and all that. Currently, you can lease one of them for 24 months, 6,000 miles a year, and that'll cost you £3,721 a year on a 24-month lease. So it's like almost double the price for a very similar car, very similar features, but with a petrol engine. And it's not just small cars either. So Honda are currently doing deals on the ENY1. Now, if you've no idea what that is, that is basically it's a Honda electric SUV. Uh, some say the successor to the Honda E, the funky little hatchback. I'm not sure it is, but it's an SUV, and it's a sort of fairly typical what you consider like a family car sized SUV these days. And well, on the whole, I don't think they're particularly great. And for the £44,000 list price, they're not particularly great. But you can currently get one on PCP from a Honda main dealer for £179 down and £179 a month. That's £2,300 a year to be driving a brand spanking new Honda electric car. The good reviews of them aren't brilliant. Johnny Smith had a thing or two to say about them, and I think my most lasting memory of the hype around the Honda ENY1 was a guy on Twitter, Tim Oldland. He had one from Honda's press department to test, to write an article about. And he was so frustrated with it that he was voicing his concerns on Twitter about how frustrating it was, that the infotainment was clunky and he just didn't really get on with it very well. And I mean, I think his exact words involved talking about wanting to drive it into a lake. So he was quite harsh. He wasn't holding back. But Honda's PR department actually rang him up after seeing his tweet and said, we're taking the car back. We're taking the car back early. So he was criticising their product, which to some extent should be the point of doing a review, right? It's not just the good stuff. You need to take the good with the bad. If you're giving someone a car to review and they're telling people about the bad stuff about it, you should be accepting of that. Honda weren't. They took the car back early, which actually ended up giving him more exposure because he then was talking about how they took it back early and people were kicking off about that. And therefore, it was a bad look. And I don't think any of these things have done the ENY1 a favour, you know. It has its shortcomings and it's had some bad reviews. But just over £2,000 a year to drive a brand new Honda SUV and a Honda HR-V, which is a kind of typical kind of comparable size petrol car. Honda would cost you about £5,700 a year to lease on a 2-year lease. So again, more than double the price to be in a petrol Honda over an electric one. And therefore, whilst I don't quite think 2024 is exactly the year of the free EV, as these manufacturers struggle to meet their ZEV mandate targets, and remember that means they need to sell 22% of the cars that they sell brand new need to be electric, you're going to see more and more and more of these deals because it's easier and cheaper for them to give someone a good deal on PCP or lease or whatever than it is to pay the £15,000 per car fine to the government. So 2024 could well be the year of the cheap EV, if not the free one. Although if you do enough man maths with the cost of charging, free is not as unattainable as it might sound. But let me know what you think in the comments. Would you have any of these cheap EVs that I've featured here, or would you be insistent on paying more to drive around in a petrol car or indeed a different EV? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.